King's Cross.
Hello, welcome to Ballan Parkway, Phase 4, Part 4. And on this video we're going to look at building a depot or maintenance shed in the old steam era. And obviously this was used for diesels. So enjoy! Okay, a little bit more of the new section of the layout. Added this retaining wall here, which I've painted. Also the mortar colours, and sort of done a dry brush across there. Put the two pillars in here and ballasted the bottom end of the tunnel there. The rest is going to be done, and just adapted this area here to make sure it fits in line with everything else. Use a bit of filler as well. Okay, so this is the new shed put in here, maintenance shed, stabling shed. Mainly maintenance, and I've acquired these pits, inspection pits. They're Peco, the second hand, and just show you here marked out where they're going to be cut. So if you look underneath, you can sink them into the ground if you like, on the board, so it's flush with the track. They look very plasticky. I'm going to paint them, put lights inside before I fit them. So yeah, they're very toy looking at the moment, so they're in need of a very serious makeover. Got little stairways here, they need painting. Probably that colour, I don't know yet. I'll have to look at some photographs on the internet. So that's going to be the inspection pits. So it's going to make this very interesting. Also, they're going to get the points to match up with the line going towards the pits. I've measured it out to where the spacing is on the shed. That's going over these. It's going to be interesting. I'll put lights in here, as I said, as well. So, interesting project. As you can see, this is where I've marked out for the pits to be the board to be cut to fit the pits in here. Never done this before, so this is going to be quite interesting. The holes for the pits have now been cut out by a jigsaw from my friend Angus Bloxham, as we know as Gus. Thank you very much for doing this for me, much appreciated. So they're ready for the pits now, really neat as well. So use a jigsaw to do that very carefully, and we're all ready to go with the pits. Just giving a quick show of what I'm trying to do here. Okay, that's what I'm trying to achieve. Obviously got to paint these inspection pits from Peco. They are very good, but just very plasticky. But they sink in quite well, I think. It's going to be good. Looking forward to this one. Okay, here's a weathered inspection pit with lights. So basically I've weathered the outside using paints and thinners to get that dirty, oily, grimy effect, and added some lights, which I'll demonstrate in a minute. And the bottom end, just down here, a bit of card or paper from Scale Scenes. A free download from them, just to cover that little bottom end of the pit there. And I painted the stairways. They were red. I've done it in a concrete colour and then weathered it. So let me demonstrate the lights for you. I'm quite happy with these. They're ready to be fitted, just about. Bit of cleaning up. Okay, I'm just going to demonstrate the lights. So let's have a look. Just using a 9-volt battery here. Okay, I'll tilt this round And you can see a bit bright here, but move the camera up a bit. So basically that's the lights which are going to illuminate the pits. I'm just using a 9-volt battery here. I may use a battery for these actually, rather than mains. We'll see how I get on with this, but that's a smaller pit and it lights up quite well. Basically the lighting kit is from Scale Scenes, which you have to solder the 2 wires at the end and connect it to the source. So just a few little LEDs there. White light. Okay, the track's all fitted for the depot, and obviously the pits all fitted. A little bit springy, I need to weight these down and glue them. Yeah, it's a bit springy that. So I need to do that. Also, I've added these little fish plate type joiners, just cosmetic, where the rails connect. Just a bit of cosmetic model in there. Also got to paint this, and once it's painted it'll look good. Obviously got to ballast the track, and I'm going to do a hard standing area inside between the rails. And there's some buffer stops at the end here. Not got those just yet. That's the next thing. But I've tested the trains on here and it works well. I was a bit concerned about this curve here, but I did a class 40 on it, seemed to do it alright, so seemed to negotiate the curve. So that's ready for a bit of weathering now. Okay, I've now weathered the rails into the shed, the depot. So I've used an earthy colour on this and gone over it with a sort of red rust, and that is Humbrol Matte 186, sort of to get the red rust on there, like it's been stood for longer. So that's all ready to go for the next phase. Okay, the next stage is doing this hard standing kit inside the depot. This is from Scale Model Scenery, and I've used parts of this before a couple of years ago. This is a concrete hard standing kit, LX096-00 gauge, obviously, -A, and it's got track spacing as well. So basically I've had to cut these little sections here into place to fit, and it seems to go really well. I'm not glued these down yet, so these are going to be glued, but I measured the shed and it fits exactly inside there. I'm going to use some filler for little bits like that to fill in between the gaps. The most difficult area is here, because it's on a curve. I'm going to put this in different sections, so I'm going to join these together and fill in the cracks with polyfiller or tile grouting material or flooring material, and again fill in the gaps with that as well. So I've placed this down already, and I'm going to glue this down now. So I'm quite happy with that, so I'm going to glue that down. Sorry, I was going to say first I'm going to spray it a concrete colour. Before I do any of that, it's going to be painted. I'll spray paint and initial paint, and I'll weather it once it's glued down. And for that I'm going to use Tamiya paint. Is that right? Tamiya? I think I pronounced that right. Apologies if I don't. And this is, I've used this before, AS16 light grey US Air Force, and that is a good concrete colour. Yeah, I used the this kit in between the rails here, and it fits perfectly. The locos don't snag, and it is designed by Justin really well to do that from scale model scenery. I'm very pleased with that. That's been down a couple of years now, probably longer than that actually, might be 3 or 4 years, and it's done really well. So hence that's why I'm using it again. Okay, so all the hard standing area has been painted and laid and glued down with wood glue. All these sections, it's very secure. I use weights to weight it down while it was drying, and obviously you can see there's lots of cracks here, so all this has got to be filled and painted. Oops, a bit loose there. So areas like this, I'm going to use filler just to fill the gaps between the rails as well, like here. So that's the next stage. Okay, so I've put the filler between the gaps and it's come out alright. Major cleaning up though, it took quite a while to do that. It's very messy, so I've done it as best as I can. Still a bit more to do. Now it's ready for painting. Okay, so I've painted the areas that I've filled with filler and it's come out alright. So this section here, a few cracks in this area here, but it doesn't look too bad. I'm quite happy with that. It probably would have been laid like that anyway, and probably used a bit for drainage, things like that. So yeah, it's coming on okay. Just needs weathering now. So these are like the walkable areas we can walk over. I had to smooth that filler down. It's all been painted now, and it's just ready for some weathering, which is the next stage. So far, quite happy with it. One word of warning though, I did spray paint the paint into a pot and the fumes were horrendous, so I recommend wearing a mask or leave ventilation. It's quite potent stuff, the spray Tamaya paint, but it does work, as you can see. First of all, I'm going to tone it down with this smoke black weathering powder to give more sort of contrast to the concrete. So basically you just need a tiny amount of weathering powder, like that, and then get a damp cloth, get your finger first, spread it around a bit. It looks rubbish at the moment, and then use a damp cloth, I mean damp, not soaking wet, to spread that around. So what you want to see is areas where it's got into and areas it hasn't. So see the contrast between the two there, I hope, in this light, between that one and the end one, which I've not done yet. It works, but I'm pleased with that. That's the first stage anyway. More to do. So basically I'm toning it down to make it a grubby looking walkway, as it would be. You got oil stains and all sorts on there, which is embedded into the concrete. I'm going to leave that to dry for now, but as you can see there's different tones now in the structure, in the concrete, which you would get. So just a little bit of weathering powder and then just rub it in with your fingers, and you can see the different tones in the concrete, different greys. I'm happy with that. There's a bit more to do. I'm going to leave that to dry overnight. Don't put too much water on there because it'll warp, but that's created quite a nice tone for the base. Okay, I've just added some more weathering powders, very lightly, and this is Dark Earth from Humbrol, and again I've just toned it down. As you can see, hopefully in this light, you can see the patches now, the tones in the concrete. Now I've looked on the internet and some were absolutely filthy, the depots. Some were cleaner, so I'm going to do it sort of halfway. Don't want it absolutely filthy, but want it to look realistic. The more modern depots seem a lot cleaner, but the British Rail period, things were dirty, very dirty. quite pleased with that actually. It's brought more tones into the effect of the concrete flooring. Still a bit of work to do, a little bit of tidying up, and the next phase is some oil spills. Another addition here is the oil spills for the locomotives and DMUs, things like that. So I've used Humbrol gloss number 21, and this is quite shiny obviously, so fresh oil spills. I smudged some as well with my finger where it's soaked into the concrete, and on the rails here got some splodges in each one dripping down, as you would find. It was a very dirty environment to work in actually, some of these sheds, especially the older ones from the steam days. I've looked at some pictures on the internet, some photos, and some of these were just filthy, absolutely filthy. I've seen one depot similar to the Backman one, I think it's Nantwich or Northwich. I'll put a picture of that, and it's very close to what I'm modelling here really, just a small depot. But as you can see, it makes a difference, all these little details of paint running down into the pits, just dirt. Yeah, quite a dirty depot. I mean, I could go over the concrete here, the covering there with more dirty, grimy weathering powder, as dirty as you want really. I'm going to leave it at that. I think that's enough for now. I could always come back to it and make it more filthier, but at the moment I'm quite pleased with that. I've covered most of the filler spillages up, so that seems to have covered that. Next I think is the ballasting on the throat of the junction here. Okay, on to ballasting. Before I do that, I've actually painted the outside here of the track to the depot in a concrete colour, which you will get on depots. I'm going to ballast over that, and same the other side as well. Okay, so I ballast the throat, if you like, of the, or part of the throat of the little junction in towards the depot, and the glue's been on here for a couple of days, and it's ballast bond. Usually you go to work and by the time I come home it's dried. This has been on 2 days, and obviously the temperature's dropped. It's in the garage here, obviously where the layout is, and slightly damp conditions outside. It's not dried, only partially dried. This ballast here is like this grey colour, which it should sort of dry that type of colour, so it's still wet. So I'm going to end the video shortly with a little briefing on what I'm trying to achieve here, but I'm going to let this ballast dry and we'll catch up with it in part 2. So I'll just show you what I'm trying to achieve. So you can see so far it's looking quite good. Obviously a bit more work to do. There's all the lighting for the depot, the roof, etc. And I found some little still photographs on the internet of Northwich with a very similar depot to this, in that sort of steam era come diesel. I was taken over by the diesel era, so the older buildings. And yeah, Northwich, I found some BR photos, so I sort of modelling that. So the photographs are to follow. Apologise for any delays. I've not done for any videos for a while. That reason being, just been busy really. My daughter's just moved house, busy doing that, and it's been a busy year, busy at work. So that's not why I've not done too many videos. Hopefully a bit more next year, as and when really. I'm not going to rush anything. So enjoy and look forward to part 2 of this project. See you soon.